Namaste Rajiv ji. My name is Hemant. My question is, can you explain the difference between modernity and postmodernity?
Between modernity and postmodernity. Very good question. What is the difference between modernity and postmodernity? Western thought has three eras which don't apply to us. So I'm answering it in the Western context, then I'll tell you why it doesn't apply to us. They have something called tradition of pre-modernity, which is before science came. That was the age when the church was running everything. They were dictators. The church used to issue edicts like fatwas. They did not call it fatwas, they called it bull. Maybe, I don't know why they called it bull. Maybe it has to do with bullshit. I don't know. But the Pope could issue bull. That this is bull number such and such. Then that was like fatwa. So it was like a dictatorship of the Vatican, long time. Then comes modernity. Modernity is when there is challenge to that. Secularism begins. Science, there is a role for science and a separate role for religion, kept separate. And science develops many, many things. Industry starts, technology starts, capitalism starts. That whole thing where science, technology, capitalism, free enterprise, material success, all of it fed by colonial loot, which they don't talk about. Okay, they don't talk about the role of colonial loot and slavery and genocide to feed the modern era. There would have been no modernity without colonial loot, without slavery. Slaves were working on the land, and the land was taken away from the Native Americans. They were genocided. So one group is genocided to get their land, the other group is slave to provide labor, and that is the rise of the whole wealth. All these guys who are rich billionaire tycoons, all these Philip Morris cigarette company, they were slave owners. All kind of these Rockefellers, these oil tycoons, they were basically taking over native lands when they would find oil and kick them out and take that oil. It's all done on that. Okay, so modernity of Europe, modernity of the United States has a lot of these things in the skeleton which nobody wants to talk about. So the era of modernity, they're very proud, is a great science, great technology, and you have to give that credit. You can't just say that they're bad guys. They may be tamasic, rajasic, but they also done brilliant things. They have done brilliant things. Now, postmodernity started mostly in the 20th century after realizing that modernity had produced some very ugly things. One thing modernity produced is the communist revolution, and the other thing it produced is the Nazism. Both were the modern societies in Europe end up reaching that. Rather than reaching higher and higher standard, they reach this kind of a thing. So there is a crisis. And then postmodernity is the fashion now. Postmodernity attacks modernity. It attacks modernity and it attacks all the grand narratives. Because the European grand narrative was very violent. The Christian grand narrative did a lot of violent things. So they attack the grand narratives. Indians who are into this field, lacking knowledge of our own tradition, lacking the knowledge of our own texts, suffering from inferiority complex, wanting to mimic what the West is doing, brought the postmodernity and started deconstructing the Indian grand narrative. Like they are criticizing their grand narrative because of slavery, because of all these exclusivity and violence. So these people were educated by the Westerners that now you start doing it on your own. So they started this deconstruction and critique of Vedic stuff and our itihas and our dharma as being violent and bad, copying the same thing the West doing. Now we are supposed to do it, except we are doing it more seriously. The student is even better than the teacher. Yeah. So that is postmodernity. Now postmodernity does not apply to us, in my opinion. The three categories of tradition, modernity, postmodernity in our case are not sequential. It is not one destroyed by the other, then destroyed by the other. In their case, they believe that one thing exists, it has to destroy the previous one. There's always a fight going on. We are simultaneously traditional, modern and postmodern, simultaneously. Vedas have the qualities of the tradition, qualities of modernity, which is logic, analysis, free-thinking, marketing, challenging, and the postmodern, because when you look at Shruti, when you look at higher state of consciousness beyond the ego, higher state of consciousness where the logic of the ego, which is a modernity kind of an ego, can be transcended. Yeah. So at the same time, we don't throw out any of those. I live a Vyavharik life, very modernistic life. I also will live a Paramarthic life, which is traditional and postmodern both. So, those categories we cannot apply the same way here, because we are simultaneously all of that. I've written a lot on this issue of tradition, modern and postmodern. I've been writing for 20 years these kind of things.
They are being different also.
It's in being different also, yeah.
Thank you, sir.